Hi, and welcome to another episode of our Property Particulars podcast. And today, my very special guest is Sarah James, Director at Strutt Parker. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So you came to our Carol service, marketing, and I asked you there, after a glass of champagne, would you like to come to our on the podcast? And you graciously accepted, but maybe at that point didn't quite know what I was going to be asking you or what it was all about. So thank you.
Oh, not at all. Wherever I can, I love to help.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So what I like to do with all of our guests to begin with is just try and understand a little bit about you. I mean, I know that you work at Strutt Parker now,
Yes.
but how did you come to be in property in the first place? What is your journey to this property?
Agency. Well, I was 18, so I took a gap year.
Okay.
I became an estate agent. I worked for an incredible lady, an all-female firm, so it was very much client-centric based.
Okay.
So I was one of four. I was very junior, having just finished my A-levels. I think I had 4 or 5 interviews with them because I was an unknown.
Yeah.
I was 18. Claire didn't know how I would fit within a team of mature women in a village that's very affluent, and they wouldn't necessarily entrust the sale of their home to somebody as young as me.
Yeah.
And Claire took a punt, her and Barry, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then so back then, like my first question is, was that unusual that it was a team of women?
It was.
I mean, it sounds
really
amazing
unusual.
though. Yeah.
It was, especially when you think that's 2004.
Yeah.
It was really unusual because every other estate agent in the village, it was a mix,
Okay.
or it was male dominant.
Yeah.
And it was women, but more on the letting side than
Okay.
sales side. And actually, the manager of the office, not the owner of the business, but the manager of the office, her background was that she was a property lawyer.
Okay.
So she was a conveyance
Okay.
solicitor, but she much preferred dealing and the transactions, the acquisitions. So she switched horses and became an estate
fascinating.
agent. She
But
ran
had
the
that
office.
knowledge.
And we worked really well as a team. And it was a really beautiful beginning because when I fell into it, I knew that actually this was my niche. This is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when I'd had the conversations with my mum, my dad, because I hadn't taken my place at Manchester, they're like, "Oh, are you sure? What about other avenues?" And I was really specific that I wanted to be an agent, but to do it in a very different way to a lot of my peers.
Yeah.
So I just really wanted to work for a company where the focus was on the seller and the experience that they were having rather than money. And
Yeah.
it's a byproduct, but it shouldn't ever be your drive.
Yeah, that's fascinating that you went in that, like, from the start in that way. And did you still go in and do like all of the basic admin stuff and the running around for everybody else? You learnt the trade well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was dog's body
Yeah.
for the first year. And then it's difficult to move within a business to go from dog's body to
step
a
up.
more proper, not proper, but a more mature member of the team.
Yeah, of
because
course.
I learned really quickly. So I was soon pitching, I was winning these pitches, and then you've got ego states that come into play. And I do believe in men and women working together.
Yeah.
And I do believe that it's how we work best. And sometimes we did lack that masculine energy within the office.
Yeah.
And actually the company that I then moved on to, again, another independent firm that was very client-centric in their approach, but it was a mix of men and women. And actually it made for a much nicer environment.
Yeah.
So we all have to learn to work together collectively, collaboratively. And you can only do that when you understand the stance at which they're coming from, and that you're not always going to share the same opinion.
No, exactly. And were you straight into sales? Was it
Straight
always
into
sales? You didn't do any lettings or anything?
I dabbled a bit in lettings, but it's just, for me, I preferred the relationships I was building on the sales side. And even with lettings, it's still very important. And I've done some lettings deals this last year because they're clients of mine. But for me, I really loved the buzz of a sale.
Yeah.
And also, lettings agents are very good on the most part. They listen.
Yeah.
And they do, because it's a longer relationship that they're building, because they're not going to be your landlord for 6 months. They're going to be your landlord potentially for the next 10, 15,
Yes,
20 years, especially if they're not an accidental landlord.
Yeah,
so
true.
the better agents were actually letting agents.
That's interesting.
Whereas on the sales side, they were so hard and fast, and it was more of a transient market, that actually when you took that knowledge into a sales role, I created a whole niche because I was approaching from a very different perspective.
Yeah. I like that you had then gone in with the independent firms from the start of your career.
Absolutely.
That's quite different to a lot of other agents that you chat to. A lot of agents go in and they do the first couple of years at some of the big, huge chains and get their training there. But I assume each has their validity in which either way you go. But how did you find it doing the independent agency route?
The independent worked really well, especially because I was a big fish in a small pond. So I felt my worth and my value. And when I left the second company I was working, I was actually headhunted by Savills. And I then went to Savills, and their training was phenomenal. This is back in 2011. And it was incredible. And actually, Guy, who used to run the training, is now head of residential at Strutt Parker. And it was just really interesting to see how then a big corporate, because I'd worked for two independents, how a corporate was so different, but actually it was still very similar, because selling houses, it is quite samey. Without it, what you learn in one company, you're going to take forward, but you are always learning. And even now, I've been doing this 21 years, I'm still learning. Every single transaction, I learn something from. And that's why I absolutely love being an agency, because each day I am learning something new, because each day I'm learning a different perspective.
That's exciting to hear. Sometimes we get a bit kind of old and bored in our career as we go through. I have certainly been there at times. But to be fresh and approach it and always remember that each new deal can bring some learning or introduction to different people. I mean, let's say now you and I have only worked on one deal together, which is very recently, and very timely that we completed it just on Friday gone. But you and I have not worked together lots and lots. But we enjoyed working together, which is why I then asked you to come on the podcast. But yeah, people that you meet different. For me, it's always different lawyers, different agents, and then finding these different models of agency that are coming up now is so different, which kind of leads us on to tell me a bit about your current role in Strutt Parker.
So from Savills, I went to Knight Frank, and then I actually went back to an independent. And then I was going to go out on my own. And there are so many agents at the moment that they're just a little frustrated with how agency has evolved, and especially dependent on who's leading those businesses. It's all very KPI focused. So when I was thinking of going out and on my own, I had a conversation with Guy, because he has been a mentor of mine since 2011. And we sat down, we chatted over lunch, and he just said, Strutt Parker, we're evolving, and we are going down the brokerage model. We haven't got a presence in Hampstead. I would love that to be you. And the way that we've now evolved 3 years later, we have Claire Reynolds. She's now head of London and head of the broker team. And actually, it's about bringing the right people into the right spaces with the right relationships, where we're just building on the infrastructure that we already have with our network of offices. So we are moving forward, and it is a very client-centric approach. So everything that I do, how are my clients going to feel? What is it that they want from this transaction? Why am I even going into their home? And we all work in the exact same way. All of us as brokers, we've got 21 years plus experience. And that's a lot. I keep thinking, I'm still so young.
You are very young.
I like to think so. I certainly am at heart. But It's really important. It's important knowing that you've got a team that are there to support you, and the hierarchy, everybody has implicit trust in what we're doing. They know how we work. We're tried, we're tested. We work collectively. It sounds so cliche, but we genuinely adopt a collaborative approach. Every single Monday morning, we're together at 9:30. We are speaking the whole time, be it Christmas Day, but it's not in a way where it's intrusive.
No.
Because we all want to help and we all want to do what's best for our clients. And we've got the agility to evolve with the moving market and the landscape, with our marketing teams, so we have the whole back office. We're so long established as a brand, Strutt Parker.
Yeah, of course.
We've just had our 140-year anniversary. It's massive. And the same values are still there. But where we are now owned by BNP Paribas, we've got the financing behind us to really push and propel ourselves forward. And I think I know that they've recognised that the talent within the company is huge.
It's huge and amazing,
It is, and that we're there for the right reasons. And actually, when I started at Strutt, because there's so much ego involved, irrespective of where you are, what you do. But in agency, it always seems to be slightly elevated. But everybody who I work with and who I have met over the last few years, they have been really good people.
Yeah, and so you're kind of, what it's sounding to me is like you're surrounding yourself with a little bit of a family that you trust and you know them well. And like you said, you're mentioning a guy who you've worked with for a long time. It's so nice to go to work and have that familiarity. Oh,
absolutely. And I remember my days at Savills when I was running an office, and again, I was super young when I was doing that. And we went for a supper at, I think it was Richard Corrigan's restaurant. And that's a value he instills. And that's because you put the right people in the right place with the right support, you have longevity. And that's what is important.
Yeah, definitely. It's very familiar to me because when I moved to London 2011 and got the job in Charles Russell, like a big top list city law firm. But in this team that we have now here at Leicester Aldridge, there's 3 partners, myself, John and Andrew, who are all from Charles Russell. And then we have 3 other people. So we've recollected people along the way who've come back, kind of come back flooding to us.
Boomerang back. Because that was 10 years ago, is that right, that the 3 of you came over?
Yeah, exactly. So it's always nice, I think, to have, and it sounds like very similar as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You do. And you gravitate to what you know and what works well for you.
And it's interesting that Strutt and Parker are kind of making that change in the model.
Well, I think with COVID, and this is certainly what I have seen, with COVID, you don't need to be in the office in the same way. And I live and work in Hampstead. So these are conversations when I was heading a team. It's so important for people to see you and to see you being a human. You're not a robot. You do go to buy your lunch. You do go for runs. This is life. This is living.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They're inviting you into their home, so they're allowed to see you vulnerable too.
Yeah.
And so many of my clients, they've seen me in my sweatpants. They have seen me in a sweaty mess where I've just run the Heath.
Yes.
They've seen me in my yoga gear because I practice locally.
Yeah.
We're human.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think with COVID, it taught us that. And when I was going into clients' homes and their sitting rooms had become gyms, or I would pop over and they were finishing their PT session in the garden, you very quickly realised that we had to change.
Yeah.
Because no longer did they want to see you suited and booted. They want to see who it is that you are.
Exactly.
And more often than not, we express ourselves in what it is that we choose to wear.
100%.
And wearing something that's not in alignment with who you are, you're never going to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So And with me, I remember in my first years, my boss at the time, she said, you have to wear a suit to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And immediately
Same.
I said no. And she was like, well, why are you saying no? I said, because I look stupid. I look like I'm playing dress up.
Yeah.
Because unless you can find me a suit that fits me well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's just never going to happen. I just felt like I was playing dress up. It wasn't me.
I get you,
and
exactly.
now everything that I wear, every single outfit, it's an extension of my personality.
Yeah.
And it's also, I've had to ask clients where they've wanted to keep it super low key, really discreet. They didn't want anybody to know. So I'm like, what do you want me wearing?
Yeah.
Do you want me
That's interesting that you kind of say to them as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you want me
that.
to turn up and looking super cash so that no one picks up that I'm an estate agent? And there was one client and she said, yes, absolutely. She said, I'd rather you be mistaken for help than than seen as an estate agent, because we just don't want we don't want anybody knowing at this point, because it is super early days.
Okay.
And I would have those conversations with the buyers and say, the sellers, really early days, they don't want it to be obvious, so please, the front door will be open, let yourself in, I will be waiting in the entrance hall for you.
I love that.
So it's just understanding
the clients, I think
client's
in that COVID
need.
time, that's definitely when I changed a bit as well. We had changed from suits. The minute I left the city firm, we didn't want to, and I actually I went to a meeting in, I think it was the Langham Hotel. I met a client, Central, and it was summer heat wave, and I had gone suited and booted, and I was the most uncomfortable I had ever been getting off Oxford Circus, walking up, and the client who was buying or selling 20 million was in shorts and flip-flop and t-shirt, and he was like, why are you in a suit? And it just, from that point on, I changed. And then me and John brought that into our firm here, and the firm we were at before, where we're like, let's just dress for your day.
That's it.
Dress for your day. If you've got a client that you think might want a blazer, then let's do that.
Keep it with you.
And then in COVID for us as well, we did social distance ID checks on doorsteps, which was lovely. And it was something to do as well. I loved it. In that conversation there, you touched on it a bit, and I definitely wanted to chat to you about Hampstead.
Yes.
So talk to me. You've always worked in that area?
No, just for the last 13 years.
Okay, cool.
So 13
But you
years.
love it? I always feel when we're chatting,
Hampstead
I feel that you
home.
love
And
yeah.
it's the home I chose for myself on my own, because all of the others, they're almost dictated. It's where you grew up. It's where you choose to live with your spouse. But this was, for me, somewhere that I chose totally on my own. And the etymology of Hampstead is homestead. And I have got the most incredible community. And to a point where my partner is like, oh, should we move? I'm not.
Absolutely not.
Unless it's within a mile of exactly where we are now.
I love it.
Because I can walk. I have my running route across the heath. I love to get out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm accessible to town, but I do feel it's a village. And for me, I love urban living. I love going to the theatre. I love the restaurants. I love everything that London offers. But I do need the solace of a green space. Yeah. And that's where Hampstead was just perfect.
It is perfect. Yeah, it kind of stands out in that respect to a lot of other London areas. I mean, I live in Islington, and to me that feels like a village atmosphere, but we miss the huge, we've got little green spaces, but not as huge.
Well, Hampstead Heath is 800 acres.
I mean, that's crazy, isn't it?
I spent 2 weeks in Paris over Christmas, and we were running, we run regularly, and we were doing the same run. We were in the 7th, and I was getting so bored of this flat run. Yeah. Because and it sounds so flippant, and as though I don't recognise that it was actually, I was very fortunate to be there. But I had got so bored of running past the Eiffel Tower. Yeah,
I love that.
But with the Heath, before I know it, I've done 3.5K, and it looks and feels so different. Yeah. And it's a natural beauty rather than a man-made, and being able to just get out and walk that or run that, it's phenomenal. And the number of clients I bump into, because having a dog is almost a prerequisite.
Do you like that aspect of it?
I love it because I'm me. And they've got to know me over the years when they've been working with me.
Yeah.
And there is nothing, for me to see them with their dog, with me with mine, it's, we're a community.
Yeah.
And when you are frequenting the Heath or the coffee, you're bound to bump into somebody you know. But then it's also, they're bumping into people that they know.
Exactly.
It's
and
home.
they'll also always have you in mind for
Selling
the next
houses.
transaction.
Well, ideally, yes. But it's more than that, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's being a face. If they want advice, that they know that they can ask and that I'm approachable.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I was only asking advice of a chap that was coming off the Heath yesterday. And you stop, you chit-chat, and it's nice, it's kind, it's friendly, and Hampstead is exceptionally friendly.
Cool. And is the Hampstead bubble in that little village atmosphere that there is there, does it have, I'm just trying to work out, do you have the people buying the flats that then move? Do you have the families that come in buying maybe buying separate homes together, then selling, buying one? Have you seen that pattern already in the 10, 11 years you've just been based in Hampstead, that you have returning clients buying to the next level?
It's a lot of the clients that I've worked with over the last 13 years, it has been a lot of my buyers, they will be buying flats, and then they would ideally look to buy up and into a house. And then I've had a lot that have looked for their forever home.
Yeah.
So actually, a lot of my clients are still in the homes that I found them. I've, again, been into other clients, and they're now looking to buy bigger, but it's the first home that both their boys have known.
Right.
And when I
So it's
speak to them,
special.
but it's really special. And then that comes with a level of discomfort when you're moving your family up and away from something that's been so safe and secure for them, and giving them the reassurance that what they're buying next is going to be equally as a happier home.
Yeah, exactly. And an interesting point that's just literally come to me now when we were talking about the transaction that we worked on. So we always, sometimes when we're doing a bit of internal training with our team, and we're talking to the younger ones in our team and letting them know our experience, we're always saying that for us as the lawyers, in that 3 to 6 months maybe relationship we have with that client that's buying or selling, we are sometimes their best friend, sometimes their counsellor. But for us, it's the transaction length. But for you, the journey sometimes is a lot longer with that client.
Oh, absolutely. You can go in. I've pitched on properties that I've then subsequently put on the market 4 years later. So I have stayed in touch with them, because at that moment in time, they weren't ready to sell. And you do build relationships and you build friendships. And it sounds so cliche, but so many of my clients have become really good friends because you share so much of yourself and they share so much of themselves that actually there is a connection.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
One of my clients, I remember it was one of my first pitches back in 2013, and they were thinking of selling 2 properties together. I then sold their house in 2019, and then more recently they put another of their properties onto the market. But they appreciate the honesty and good advice.
Yeah, I could talk about clients in Hampstead forever. We're going to move it on a little bit. So let's talk a bit more transactional.
Yes.
So one of the big questions, what do you think makes a good property solicitor?
I think it is how you listen.
Yeah.
I think it's what makes you a good human, listening
I
and
love
understanding. And whenever you and I have spoken, I'm very direct. I know how busy you are. I'm very to the point, and I want to communicate really effectively with you. And that leads directly on to an effective communicator. And if there's an issue, just say, Sarah, this has come up, and we find a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's so important to be solution-led.
Yeah.
Whereas others, there's an obstacle, and dependent on the solicitor, they don't want to find a solution. They just want to give their client the advice of what the possibilities could be,
Yeah.
rather than actually getting
Going
to
that
a
extra
point where
mile.
we've resolved the issue.
Yeah.
And if you've got a buyer that wants to buy and a seller that wants to sell, there's no reason to why that transaction
we
should
all
fall
want the
through.
transaction done. We all want the transaction.
Exactly. because
And actually, on the one that we had,
Yes.
you remember, we did have a problem.
We did have a
But,
problem.
and again, it's just come into my head now. What you said to me, which sometimes I don't get, is about that problem. We needed to find some documents from council, etc., to do with some old planning stuff. And I remember you just said, "Do you need my help, or shall I leave you alone?" And at that point, I was kind of a bit into it, so I was like, "Leave me alone for a little bit." And then, but we got there, didn't we?
We did. And
But with the help, we had a good help from our clients as well.
We did. He's super. Well, he wanted to get the deal done.
Yeah, and the buyer, like we had on
And
that deal, everybody was good.
They were. They wanted to find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
They were not wanting to use it as an opportunity to renegotiate or to
Yes.
get out.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted clarity on the matter.
Yeah.
And we were going back and forth, and Camden, they're not overly helpful,
Mm-hmm.
but we got there, and it was a nothing.
Yeah.
And but it's also having the experience between both sets of solicitors and
Yeah.
the experience of the agent to very quickly get to the bottom of it,
Yeah.
so that nobody is worrying and beginning to wobble.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's what we don't want.
What's important in
Yeah.
a good solicitor is how quickly you react to a situation.
Yeah.
It's the most important, because if anybody then thinks that there's an issue, and as soon as there's doubt in the unconscious, the subconscious,
we just don't want that.
You just don't, because
No.
people wobble.
Yeah,
And
which is natural, of course. They're buying the biggest thing in their life, so they'll be constantly rethinking it at all times. But we're trying there to soothe the way through for them.
Exactly, and for them to have confidence that what they're buying is right for them.
Yeah,
Especially when sometimes it was a mistake that was made on the local authority search.
yeah. Actually, I'd never really had that for a long. I couldn't think of another example where we actually worked out that.
It was a mistake.
It was a mistake on that listing for the local authority search result, which made me very happy. It
wasn't an oversight on anyone's behalf. It was just
one of those things.
It was a mistake.
Yeah.
And there is always going to be human error.
Yeah.
And I don't always get things right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a solicitor saying, actually, no, Sarah, I haven't got the time. Could
Mm-hmm.
you do some more digging for me?
Yeah.
And it's just the reciprocity in any relationship, but where you're trying to do the best for your client. So
Yeah.
again, going back to that client, what is it that
Exactly.
they're wanting? What do they want to see me doing so that they're happy?
Yeah, exactly. I love it actually when a client puts me in a WhatsApp group with the agent.
Oh.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes
I was
it's
going to say,
sometimes it's too
I can
much.
imagine.
But if you're all focused on the same thing, that's really worked sometimes before for the speed of a WhatsApp message
transaction.
and to get that through. Okay, let's flip the question on to agents, and instead of saying what makes a good agent, what frustrates you in the industry about? Well, it could be agents or lawyers or anything to do with the industry generally.
I think with the industry in general, I just think what is most important, and that's why we're doing this. And for me, it's a seamless transaction for the client. We're there to facilitate them with the sale of their home, their house. And with the markets that I've worked, it's always been very different. It's never been an investor-led market. It just isn't, because everybody looks, most of the house, I'd say every single house I've sold over the last 13 years, the person buying it, it has been their home.
Yeah.
Or buying it with a view that one day it's going to be their home.
Yeah.
So it's I would just like anybody where it's their house and their home, for agents to give it the care and look after the seller in the way and the buyer in a way that you would want to be looked after as a seller or as a buyer.
Yeah.
And actually empathizing with their position, because for something that we do daily, and we may have multiple exchanges in a week, completions, for them, this is life-changing.
Yeah.
And they need that hand-holding. So you want to be there, you want to give them the best advice. you don't want them to feel railroaded into any decision that they're making. And for me, that's super important. Just be kind. That's what I would say to any estate agent. Be kind and listen and drop the ego. Just nobody cares.
No.
They don't want to hear about how successful you are and how brilliant you are when you're not getting viewings on theirs.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes them feel as though they're selling something that isn't as great as another that you're working on.
Yeah.
Just put yourself in their situation.
I always say the best advice is step back from that keyboard
Exactly.
for a few seconds, do some yoga breathing, and then go back to it. But actually,
Take a minute.
pick up the phone instead.
Oh
I
my
always think
gosh.
that you can dilute a situation personally on the phone, because actually you never know if somebody if you've read an email and you're thinking, oh, that's a bit aggressive.
Yeah.
It might not have been written in that way.
Oh,
It's,
no.
it's our own interpretation.
Exactly.
And so, drop the ego, phone that person up, and then you'll find 9 times out of 10, they're lovely on the other end. It sounds that you're pretty good at kind of developing your client into being, for example, the best seller possible.
Yeah.
Because that's what. And how does that evolve as you're first introduced to a seller, for example?
Well, I think it's just understanding what it is. And I always ask whenever I go into a home, why am I here? What is it that you want and need to be ready to make a decision?
Okay.
And it might just see, can you call me in a year's time?
Yeah.
And then you check in 6 months later because life does evolve. But it's just treading gently and being kind.
Yeah.
But treading gently, I think, is just the most
Good
important.
advice. Yeah, exactly. Let's move on to a bit to personal property.
Personal.
It's called Property Particulars, the podcast.
It is.
So I always ask people if they're okay. Like, so have you bought and sold property?
I have,
And
yes.
how was that?
It was challenging.
Did you become the worst client ever? I certainly did when I did that, but I was stressed during my one.
I don't think I was the worst client. When it came to buying and when I bought my first, actually, it was the gut reaction.
Yeah.
And I always thought, what a crock, because you can make any house a home.
Yeah. And when you bought and sold, have you done it together? Have you sold and purchased at the same time?
No,
I've not done that either.
Never would I ever.
No.
No, because I just couldn't put myself.
It's a lot.
I don't want to move from one to the other.
Yeah.
Because I think to take a moment, to take a breath, but also it's just too much in one day.
Much. Sometimes if there's a long chain that we have on a transaction, I'm always like, how do they all get done on that day?
Well,
it's fascinating, but they all do.
No, they don't.
Well, no,
because
I
have had situations where the money hasn't been received.
Gosh.
And I've had it where a seller, she was refusing to give her keys over, albeit we'd completed, because she hadn't completed on her onward.
Oh gosh, we have all of those.
And it was lunchtime.
Yeah.
I was like, but the house does not belong to you. Well, I can't be homeless. Well, you are.
Yeah, you are. You don't own it
until you've
anymore.
completed.
Yeah.
I need those keys.
Do you know what we find actually? And because the vacant possession is a very important bit of a contract, and there are a lot of people in the industry, that's across lawyers, buyers and sellers and agents, that don't understand that the money arriving and the vacant possession that they're together. You can't, if the money's arrived but you're not vacated yet, you can't complete.
Can't complete.
So
no.
that, it's hand in hand. But we do start talking to our clients very early on about that completion day process if they're doing both, because it's stressful. Right, we're going to talk about the future and next year. And what I did very conveniently is I looked at an article from Strutt Parker, their top 7 trends for the forthcoming year, 2026. And one, I don't think it was written by you, but I felt like it could have been. So I'm going to read it out. Neighbourhood with village lifestyle will stand out.
Absolutely. And I've been in Hampstead for 13 years and I've seen the buyers that have been coming in.
Yeah.
And community is everything. Having a coffee shop that you can walk to, that they know your order, that you can go to the pub, they know you.
Yeah.
It's a sense of belonging. And I think in a world where there's so much turmoil, you want to belong and you want to feel safe. You want to have people on your doorstep that you know that you can ask for a cup of sugar
And there's a few, and so even because Hampstead gets called Hampstead Village, a bit like Marylebone, Marylebone Village.
Marylebone
But I
Village.
do feel that in different London suburbs, so let's expand out beyond Hampstead or Islington that we're talking about, like these other places, they might not get called the village, but they are becoming
villages of their own right.
Yeah, and it's lovely to see that. Like you can have that in any borough, you know, if you get to know your local whatever. In Camden or in Wandsworth or Battersea,
Primrose
it's
Hill.
so lovely to see. And actually, I think whoever did do this article is getting it spot on. That is what buyers are looking for, and buyers across the spectrum. So even graduates trying to buy their first flat or something like that, they want that as well. They want to be known in their local pub.
They do. They want community.
Yeah.
And I think we moved away from it, especially with commuting and we're working, then going home and staying in. I think everybody wants to get out again.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Right, we're coming towards the end of our fabulous podcast.
Thank you for having
So,
me.
well, I like to end on a couple of quick fire, which I'm wondering whether we'll get some more Hampstead mentioned in here. But let's do it. So, what is a hidden gem in London that you think is amazing, that if somebody was visiting London, a friend, what would you take them to?
I would always take them up Hampstead, Parliament Hill.
Yeah.
Just seeing that view. And dependent on the friend, there's other gems that I would show them, but doing the same, I have a route and it's just beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the best Sunday lunch?
Sunday lunch. See, I might not even tell you because I'm so protective.
Tell me after.
But no, it's the Magdala. And
no, not been.
No, and it's actually at the bottom of Parliament Hill. It is incredible. And the staff are just beautiful.
Yeah, amazing. Sarah, thank you so much
for
joining us on the
me.
podcast. I'm loving, I can just feel the Hampstead passion that you have, and I hope everybody else does as well. So you know that market well.
And when you're in Hampstead, we'll go for that drink and do that walk.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Join us again soon for another episode of Property Particulars Podcast.